Welcome to the B2B Breakthrough podcast. We're here to bring you all the best knowledge, insights, and strategies from e-commerce experts, successful business owners, and the team at Alibaba.com that you'll need to grow your business and achieve your next big breakthrough. I'm your host, Sharon Gai. We're here today with Ciara Cristo, who's actually part of the Alibaba.com marketing team. And she just came back from a white label conference where she met a lot of different e-commerce sellers, people trying to get started in this space. And she has a lot of questions that were asked of her, and she'll share more about that. But before we get started on that, I just wanted to get to know you more about your role and also your recent trip to China, where y'all went, saw, and the Alibaba campus. Let us know.
Oh, yeah. We have lots of updates for you. We made some tracks, mostly throughout Hangzhou, visiting the Alibaba campus. Got two huge, beautiful campuses there that we spent a lot of time in. Getting to know our colleagues on the China side really well. We've had a really great working relationship with them in the year that I've been at Alibaba, and to have this chance to really connect and dive into the culture there on campus and learn about the projects that they've got going on. It was a really enlightening couple of weeks, and it was our big homecoming trip.
Was it all work, no play? Did you guys get to see things? For those who don't know, Hangzhou is a city that's about an hour or so train ride from Shanghai.
Hangzhou was our home base while we were there, and we did make it out to Westlake, which is so beautiful. So we took some time to do some exploring around there. Beautiful parks, so green. I mean, we were there the middle of April, and I couldn't get over how lush and gorgeous it was. We spent a lot of time in Hangzhou. We had a little excursion one day to the wetlands. I think it was a little bit outside of Hangzhou.
The Shishi wetlands. It's by
exactly.
The Shishi campus.
Yep, you got it. You nailed it. So yeah, we spent a day out there kicking off the new year and getting some new projects underway. And yeah, we did make it out to Shanghai as well. So we went up over the weekend and did some exploring. I think, oh my gosh, tens and tens of thousands of steps that day, just making our way through Shanghai and seeing all that we could see in our short 2 weeks there. So it was a great trip.
Did the kickoff have the local Chinese colleagues join as well?
Yeah, we had our full team, the local Chinese colleagues over there. It was the New York office, some folks from our European teams as well. And we got through all of the exciting things that are coming up this year.
Nice. Cool. That sounds super exciting. So you recently went to this show. Tell us a bit more about the show, what it means, who attends, who speaks there, because I've personally heard about this. I think they've been running it for a couple of years, and it's a global events company that hosts us in different cities around the world. But yeah, how was the conference that you recently went to?
Yeah, it was great. I just got back from it today. So we had a chance to walk around these last 2 days at the Javits Center in New York. They run these conferences throughout London, New York, LA, and it brings together a lot of product-based businesses that are creating innovative products in the marketplace to white label and private label for entrepreneurs to create businesses of their own with some of the best products on the market. So it was a great opportunity to see how people are operating in different spaces. And there were 3 stages all set up. They had a really great lineup of speakers over the course of the 2 days. So, not only did you get a chance to explore what products are on the market, but you had reps from some of the biggest tech companies operating in the market right now talking about anything from AI to SaaS equipment and software. Ways to break into the market and to really capitalize on your audience and really reach the people you need to reach. Some really great conversations were had, and it was a cool chance to talk about e-commerce.
Yeah. Is there a popular product right now that everyone wants to use for white labeling? We learned from Superline that their whole thing was t-shirts and sweatshirts back in the day. Has it changed? What are the hot products right now?
At this show, there was a lot in the supplement space. There was a lot in the healthcare, supplements, beauty. We saw a lot of products in that world. And then a lot of things for, back-end users to really elevate your digital presence for your brand and help your customers customize the products that they're bringing to them. We talked to a lot of suppliers or product manufacturers
Are they coming from China or is it a global, all over the world, American?
This was pretty local. There were some global influences here. We spoke to businesses based in Europe. There was an Italian tech company and a German supplement supplier. So, there's definitely a far reach here, but the focus was, I would say, North American and European at this show.
In the supplement space, is it still sort of the vitamins, the pills part that's taking off, or are there new type of products that's emerged from that?
So we were talking to a German supplier who had a lot of chewables and dissolvables.
Is gummy still a big product to white label?
There are a couple gummy suppliers. They were more about the base than it was the actual benefit, so they weren't necessarily a supplement provider, but the formula to create your own gummies. But, there were some other suppliers who were playing with new formats. There were some really interesting approaches that people are playing with. So it's an interesting market for sure.
Yeah, no, I used to work at a company called Pattern, and Pattern was the largest seller on Amazon. It would represent many different brands, but ultimately it was the largest third-party seller in Amazon. And they did a lot of health supplements, VMS stuff. And through that, I got to know a lot of those type of health supplement companies, what sells well on e-commerce. And back in the day, it was the pill format of the health supplements with Pure, Thorne, if those names ring up, Swanson. And then eventually they all wanted to take the gummy route and add in chewables. And then I think the iteration after that was the personalized test. So the personalization to supplements. So their whole thing was, you can get a bottle of vitamin A or C, but each pill the dosage is standard, right? Because they're mass producing every single pill in the same size. But our bodies are all different. What you need might be different from what I need. So in that third 3.0 stage, a lot of these supplement companies were doing a lot of personalized tests so that the package that they sent to you ultimately was personalized to you so that they could also measure your intake and do a bunch of tests to see how these indicators have changed after you started taking their product. And that was a big thing before I left them, though.
It reminds me of there's a D2C company, I think it's Carev. Are they affiliated? It seems like a similar premise, the customized healthcare for your needs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, by now, I think there's a lot of this type of companies that's come up. I guess Care of, or somebody who would want to start a company like Care of, would be somebody who would visit the white label show to find suppliers for building a business like that. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to exactly how they developed their formula, but I think it's definitely a good place to start if you're looking to create a supplements brand or any type of brand. All verticals were represented at this show. So, I mean, anyone trying to get their foot in the door, this is a great place to start because there's folks who have already broken into those specific industries and to kind of either learn from them or explore a partnership with them to continue to private label under your own brand. It's a great starting point and a lot of really great opportunities there. Not to mention the resources, the speeches, the conversations. There was really strong representation between even legal services and branding services to help push the product further. So there were a lot of really interesting opportunities for people to put their toe in the water or to continue to grow. It wasn't just folks starting out. I spoke to a gentleman who is a decade into his business and he's doing really great. And he's attending shows like this purely from a scaling perspective to see what other resources, what other suppliers are out there that he can continue to scale his business. So while we talk about up and comers a lot, I think there's room to talk about the people who are really just looking for the next step, even if they are really well developed. There's always room for growth. And that's the thing about the e-commerce world. And I don't need to tell you this, it is constantly evolving.
Yeah. So you wore your Alibaba.com badge when you were attending the show. And so I'm sure there were a line out the door trying to talk to you maybe to get into some of or get to know, I don't know, the best vendors, the best sellers that's on the platform, what is selling well on the Alibaba.com side. What were people curious about when they were having a conversation with you?
Yeah, I think this is where the conversation about starting a business was really central in my experience because people were either discovering Alibaba.com for the first time or starting to better understand how we support people, how we support small businesses. And I received a lot of very tactical questions. And I think it's something worth discussing because we get these questions all the time. How do I find the right supplier? How do I know I trust my supplier? How do I communicate with my supplier if he's speaking another language? What are the best ways in when it's a really daunting world? There are countless suppliers and opportunities out there to start a new product line. So help me. What is step one?
The people that attended White Label, what percentage of people there do you think know about Alibaba.com? Is it the vast majority or more the minority?
I would say the vast majority. I think there is a response to seeing the name, like, I have something to learn. I have questions. I recognize the name. And that's the great thing about us being there. Like, I really enjoyed the opportunity to connect with folks on a person to person level and really just get into what is the problem they're solving. I can't answer every question that comes my way and the particulars of their business, but if there's a tool that we have, I don't know if everyone knows the ins and outs of how to effectively leverage that and get where they need to go. So I can't speak in terms of percentages, how many people recognize our brand.
Yeah, but generally people are still learning about the website, the functions, what can I do with it? Because whenever I attend something previously in the past and I had my badge on, the first question I would get is, can I buy directly?
Yeah.
Like, I just got a new apartment. I'm trying to fill it up with furniture and little things and whatnot. Can I just get things from you directly? I'm like, no, 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 no. It's more of a B2B thing. It's if you want to start a business, if you want to launch something, there's a MOQ for most suppliers. And that number has gone down, right? Some are now shipping with even quantity of 2, 5, a very, very low count, but it's still in the more B2B space instead of Amazon.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest distinction that we start off telling people that this is a sourcing opportunity, first and foremost. This is a way to stock up, to create something new, or to discover a new product and bring it to your audience. But that said, one of the things that we were talking about at White Label this time around was the opportunity as a consumer to test it out. And we have a new service that I'll talk to you about in a little bit called Alibaba Guaranteed. And that is a place where consumers can buy in bulk. Like you were saying, I'm setting up a new apartment. I need to get dozen place settings or whatever they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. And the bigger homes, like buying, I don't know, bowls or cutlery, or kind of buying in bulk.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got 4+ kids, you may need a lot more of your water glasses than I do in my one-person apartment here.
They break.
Oh, yeah.
To replace it.
Yeah.
Ship it to me in one go. Yeah.
Please, just, in bulk, let's go. Let's get ready for a party that I'm hosting. I'm a teacher. Let's set up my classroom. There are so many places that even if you're not a business owner, you do need, how many engagement parties, bachelorette parties have you gone to where you need things in bulk? So we do have that in place now.
Okay. So it's becoming potentially more B2C.
A little bit. We still recommend this as a service for business owners to more quickly and simply source for their businesses. But that's not to say it's exclusively for business owners. So it's more about buying at scale. What kind of bang for my buck am I getting out of this experience? And how can I, as an individual who may not be really well versed in sourcing and negotiation with suppliers, how can I just get it done quickly and painlessly? And that's what Alibaba Guaranteed does. So this brings us into this space where it's more of an add to cart experience than traditionally you may have found in other sourcing practices. And we can go through a tutorial of it. And I encourage folks to scroll through our social feeds to find more information on it. But it's a matter of filtering out for Alibaba Guaranteed products. And there's lower MOQs. It's a guaranteed delivery date. It's a money back guarantee if it's not what you ordered and it's not on the terms that you agreed to.
That can ring in really useful.
Yeah. And just the ability to really transparently understand the pricing that you're working with. They're fixed prices and you slide it up and down to see if you want, 5 pieces versus 200 pieces. It's a more transparent way of sourcing. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you don't even have to negotiate. Oh, if I buy more of this, Are you going to give me a 10, 20% discount? It's a dial that you can sort of tweak based on the quantity that you want to order.
Exactly.
What are you normally telling people when they're asking for advice in talking to suppliers and building a better relationship with their suppliers? What are the best practices or recommendations that you're giving those folks?
Coming to the table with all of your information that you need for your product at the ready. The more transparent that you can be with what you're looking for, the more specific you can be about the product requirements, the quantities, the materials, all of these pieces, that sets you up for a stronger relationship with your supplier. And as you get into the negotiation practice, like we were saying, like in a more traditional sourcing format, it's about being flexible and understanding where you're willing to compromise and where you have firm requirements for your business. I mean, this is all in service of your company, of your product at the end of the day. So you want to be as clear as possible, but having that understanding and openness to learning more about what the supplier or manufacturer's capabilities are, you may discover something that you didn't know was a possibility before. So I encourage people to be receptive and open in those conversations, but very clear about what your boundaries are in that conversation and be real. Be a human. We have these systems in place on Alibaba.com, the live translation features. So, there isn't as much of a language barrier as there once was. And you can really build a rapport in a way that you may not have been able to do even 5, 10 years ago. So it's something that I always encourage in just general practice. As a person in the world, be a person and be relatable and be open to learning from someone else. So those are my top tips. I'm not a business owner. So I don't know if in your experience in e-commerce.
So the first thing that I thought of was, so there's this event called Burning Man every single year. It's a big music festival. We had to build an art car. An art car is these things that are monstrous building size things on wheels. It has to carry at least 20, 30, sometimes 100 different people. So it has to also be structurally very strong. And it's usually very lit up because at night it's a desert. So there's absolutely no light. And so we're all bringing our own lights. But these cars are usually all lit up as well. And I work with this camp called Titanic where they asked me, can you help us source our exterior? So that was a very daunting task that I had to take on because there were very specific requirements with how that exterior had to be. It had to be a certain material. It had to have these holes spaced exactly so that the lights can be woven through these panels. And it ended up weighing a ton. We had to consider so many different options, whether it was going to travel by air straight to LA. So the factory that we ended up finding was one in Henan. Apparently, in that province in China, that's where they make a lot of this type of exterior. And I use Alibaba.com to negotiate everything from the pricing, the shipping options, all of those things the website at the time helped me take care of. I think my benefit was I knew Chinese, so I didn't need to rely on the translation bit, but it was a lot of back and forth between myself and the supplier. And to this day, I still have him on my WeChat because one day they're going to want to build another level to the art car or more levels, build up from there. So we're going to need more panels. But yeah, it's been a relationship that's lasted this many years. And I could not have thought of any other place to go to find what we needed to do. As a long-winded answer to what you were saying earlier about customizations and suppliers working around you and for you.
Yeah. How did you find the supplier in the first place? What kind of criteria did you go through?
Yeah, I went to the website, searched for the product. A lot of different listings would show up. And then I kind of saw just from observation that all of them came from that same city. The name of the city was similar because having been born in China, lived in China, worked sort of in that manufacturing space, I know that within China, there's so many different provinces and they're good at making different things. So like southern China, Guangzhou area, they're really good at making clothing. There's a lot of clothing manufacturers there. Around Shanghai, Hangzhou area, they are really good at selling like little tchotchkes. There's a city called Yiwu. If you guys went on your
there.
China trip, you went there? Okay, you saw the football-sized field, building after building of products.
Oh, yeah.
They make anything from like mugs to, little appliances. There's that sort of region. And then the building materials, a lot of those come from Henan. A lot of food products come from the Northeast, just because those provinces, they produce a lot of agriculture for the rest of China. And so searching for the product and getting those listings and noticing that commonality made me realize that I shouldn't err too far from that to find the best possible supplier, because the largest producer was probably from that region. And then I think I started to contact at least a couple, maybe around 4 to start, just to bounce things back and forth. Some replied right away, some did not reply at all. Then we got to immediately talking and me telling them about what we're doing. And then we had to build a sample. And then we didn't really have time to have that sample shipped over, because usually you want the sample, you want to touch it and feel it and actually see if it's going to work. We didn't have that luxury because we were really pressed for time. But the salesperson that represented that supplier was really nice to say, I can shoot a video for you. Like, I know we don't have that luxury of time to give this to you. You're in the US, so I can take a video of this. Like, I can pick it up, walk around this panel and show it to you. You can also Zoom live if you wanted to. So it just instilled a lot of trust. I mean, this is a stranger that I just met hours ago, and now they're willing and able to go at that length to make me feel assured as a buyer. And we ended up going through with the order. I think maybe the bigger headache was the logistics side, because it just weighed so much, the whole shipment. And we had to get creative on that in customs. A lot of the podcast guests that we've had on the show will know very well all the little things that you have to do within the custom space and actually importing it into the US.
Yeah, I remember from your conversation with Ikun as well, one of my colleagues, he works in the logistics team on, at Alibaba.com. And that is a world that every time a question comes up about logistics, I'm like, I got to talk to my man Ikun, because he's always the one with the answers. And it is a very complicated space to navigate. So leaning on the resources available to you in a situation like that is so crucial, because it is extremely complicated, as you experienced. And I wouldn't know where to begin other than talking to Ikun.
Yeah, I know. It's great that you have that accessibility. I remember Ikun giving me a couple of resources that's on the Alibaba.com's website. And there's a new platform that he had helped launch as well that just had a lot of that information for first timers to read and get up to speed on.
Yeah, he spearheads this Alibaba.com logistics blog. There's a lot of information that's available through our Reads website, that when we share this episode, we can share that information as well, because that is where a lot of really great how-tos come to life. So yeah, it is a very nuanced area, and to have those kind of resources is huge. And so that's something that Ikun has been really instrumental in making available to business owners, getting access to that information.
Yeah. So another question that a lot of people have is, how do people get started finding suppliers? What are your words of advice or some recommendations there?
Yeah, this is definitely one that I get all the time. There are so many suppliers available on our platform. It is hard to sift through. And the one tool that we have developed within our AI suite is Smart RFQ. So RFQ, if you're just starting out, that's a request for a quotation. And with this tool, it's placed differently depending on the browser you're using or if it's a mobile, but look for the block that says request for a quotation. And in that, you're able to send out a request from several suppliers. And within 6 hours, you can get up to 15 responses. And so these suppliers are going to come to you with some of the recommended approaches, their MOQs, all of their requirements, and how they would recommend proceeding in your relationship. So that brings you down from, thousands of search results to 15. And 15 is a number that you can kind of wrap your head around. So, I mean, to get there in the first place, you've worked with suppliers, you've sent out requests before, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
I think going back to your Burning Man example, knowing the kind of sturdiness of the material you need, knowing like general requirements, you can pre-form a document, come up with exactly the specs that you're looking for, and upload it into the request for quotation, so that, it kind of pares back all of the ones that don't quite fit the mold, and you can focus on getting the best option for your product, for your business that is on the market. So that to me is like the easiest entry point to start looking. And if you want to do more digging outside of that or submit a new RFQ, those options are always on the table. That's never going away. But to have this resource where you can take some of the guesswork out and only get the folks who are actually meeting your standards.
Pretty helpful.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Had another question, which is how can I, as a business owner, make sure that I can trust who I'm working with and where I find in the larger platform?
Yeah. So I think the best tool to ensure that you can trust who you're working with is trade assurance. So trade assurance is a simple filter on the platform. So as you type in whatever you're looking for, silverware, beach chairs, canvas material, you type in what you're looking for and you click the trade assurance filter. And with trade assurance, you can be sure that your money is being transferred only when you get the materials you're looking for. You can trust we're holding it in escrow. We'll pay the supplier.
As an escrow.
Yeah, that's the big helpful piece. We're holding it in escrow so that we can manage returns and advocate for you on your behalf if you're not getting what you're looking for. It's set delivery dates. So, those are some of the terms that we have at our fingertips to refer back to if we need to intervene. We hope that you have a seamless process with this supplier, but if they participate with trade assurance, we are able to support you.
And these trade assurance suppliers are also historically, they've been with the platform for a really long time, right? So it's also sort of vetted that way.
Yeah, we have a strong working relationship with them. They're verified suppliers through third-party verification services. And we recommend using this as your first go, especially if you're still figuring out what suppliers you want to have a relationship with. This is the way to find them. And you manage all of your payments securely on our platform. We manage the logistics. You can track your purchases. And if you need to get to the point where you make a return, there's no surprises. And I'll borrow an anecdote from one of our buyers. They create party supplies. They source party supplies for weddings, bachelorette parties, graduation parties, anything like that. And they were producing these balloons that had a phrase on them. I don't recall the phrase that they were trying to print, but they came smaller. The font was much smaller than they anticipated. And they, had a hard time getting in touch with their supplier. And sometimes that happens. We hope that's not what you experience. But if and when it does, that's when having this trade assurance comes in handy, because we were able to talk to the supplier, get the situation rectified. They got their replacement balloons. Everything went fine. So it's just that added level of peace of mind that I think comes in handy in situations like that, especially when you're exploring a new supplier, trying a new product for your business. You never know. And so it's nice to have those systems in place.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. I also wanted to talk a little bit about Alibaba's event. So is it similar to White Label or is it something completely different?
In some ways, it's similar. In other ways, a whole new world. One thing that we focus on at Co-Create, this is the second year we're doing it. We're really excited. Last year was such a success that we're really looking forward to bringing it back to Vegas. We're going to be at the Paris Hotel on September 5th and 6th. And so this event is a culmination of a couple different concepts. We've got a main stage keynote opportunity to learn about the broader concepts, the broader tools that you need, whether they be on the platform or resources from our ecosystem partners. All of that will be available on the main stage. We're developing workshops and more interactive opportunities to learn more from these experts in the e-commerce space. We've got some suppliers who are coming and exhibiting, so you can see firsthand what leading products, what trusted suppliers we have on our platform. It's a big networking opportunity, and we've got some exciting topics coming up. So I can't tease all of them just yet. We're still developing our agenda, but it's a big speaker series more than anything. But there's a lot to uncover, so highly recommend jumping on that train.
Yeah. Well, I will be there for sure. Vegas is a popular conference destination for me anyways. I go there pretty often. But who would you recommend this show to? Is it somebody who is starting out, somebody mid-journey, later stage? And is it just for e-commerce sellers, or what would be some of the classic profile that would attend, and then some other profiles that if they attended would find the event to be really useful?
We're building this event to be more useful to folks in all different kinds of profiles. We are providing certain workshops for people who are maybe a little bit more developed, who are, at that 7, 8 figure business situation. And then some broader just starting out points. So one thing that we're really trying to organize is understanding what parts of this show is most beneficial to what people, and we can offer that recommendation upon arrival. These are the talks that we really think you as an aspiring business owner would benefit the most from. Whereas someone who is a little bit more developed, you should check out this closed door session with these experts to talk about, scaling further at your advanced level in the industry. So, come one, come all in the e-commerce space, in the entrepreneurial space. Scaling is a really big conversation this year. Scaling and utilizing emerging technologies to further your business. Those are some of the really strong points that we're excited to talk about and learn ourselves. We're bringing in experts from each of these verticals so that we have access to this information too, because we can't answer everything. As much as I would like to say that we hold all the cards,
We're not ChatGPT.
we are not.
We are not comprised of 7 billion parameters.
I wish I could say I was, but I am not ChatGPT.
Who are some of the experts that is secured on the agenda so that we get a little flavor of who's coming?
Well, last year we had Damon John speaking at our event.
The Shark Tank FUBU.
Yes.
He's like a nicer shark.
He is. He's a really good guy. We were really happy to have him last year. So we had a nice fireside chat with him and just talked about the way he developed and scaled and brought FUBU to market, the advice that he gives just other small businesses that he's invested in. So we learned a lot in that session, and without giving names, that's the kind of experience that we're really excited to bring back this year. We will definitely be teasing some of the big names that we've got in our network that are going to come chat with us. Talking about scaling and really taking advantage of opportunities that come your way. Those are some really big topics that we love getting into. I think, emerging technologies are huge. If you're in the AI space, that's the conversation at every trade show these days. And this is no exception. I think it's a big topic because it's a big topic. It's super relevant. And if you don't embrace the wave, you're going to get left behind. It's part of operating a business in 2024. And to understand the software and the technologies that we have at our fingertips is paramount to leading a successful business.
I read on Little Red Book. So Little Red Book is like the Chinese version of Instagram. And whenever I'm on there, there's always these posts that come up that's sort of almost like test posts. So these are not brand owners, but they've used some sort of mid-journey and come up with this cool type of product. So I think there's so many different AI tools that you can leverage within the product creation space that it might be just an idea that you have that you're using as a prompt to input into one of these mid-journeys or DaVinci's or Artiste AIs, these type of apps, and out comes a potential product. And you don't actually need to have secured a supplier, secured a factory to be producing this on bulk yet, but you can just test out the market with a social media post.
You work with AI a fair amount, don't you? What is the biggest conversation that you have in the AI space with people you speak to after keynotes, or, what is something that's really intriguing to you in the AI space?
So from, I think, a more established brand front, working with e-commerce brand owners and retailers, they're all talking a lot about personalization. So how do we create this customer journey that's very personalized to you? And I borrow a lot of concepts that I learned from Taobao. I used to live in China. I shopped on Taobao all the time. I still miss it. So Taobao is very good at personalization. It just has perfected this algorithm so well based on the search terms that you've inputted, based on what you've clicked on in the past, the likeness type of thing. So if you like a certain vibe of clothing, it'll continue serving that type of other set of colors or style. So I was just on a call with, can't say the name because but they are a very, very big retailer. You'll know them very, very well. They're located all over the US, and they are trying to figure out how do we introduce that into our mobile apps as well? Because right now, the home pages for a lot of these large e-commerce retailers is still controlled by humans. So humans are dictating what SKUs to show on the homepage, the coveted sort of spotlight surface area that most clicks will go to. Humans are deciding what to put there, but a lot of these e-commerce players are trying to figure out and perfect their algorithm to replace that with a machine or with AI or with an algorithm, similar to what Taobao has done. So that is a very large topic. Something else I was on another podcast for is talking about avatars, AI avatars. So a lot of brands now are brainstorming how do we use AI created avatars, whether that's an influencer that we already work with. And so we want to sort of clone them and use their digital twin with their permission and sign a longer term contract with them instead of always asking this influencer to make me a new video about this new product and just to use the avatar that they've created, or creating a completely new character and sort of growing that and growing their fan base.
Interesting.
Yeah. So people can check out Lil Miquela. She's a very famous Brazilian influencer. She's AI generated. A lot of the poses that you'll see on her Instagram page is completely generated via AI. But brands will work with her and brands will hire her to photograph products with her. She would help brands sell products on behalf of them. And that type of concept is also, I think, growing in popularity as well. And more brands are figuring that out as well.
Interesting. It reminds me, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but I very recently was playing with AI headshots. And it's a space that, I was a little bit hesitant to play with because I want people to show up authentically always. And to me, it felt like that was compromising it a little bit. But I gave it a shot and it was really interesting. Like it was.
Yeah. You got some that you're going to use?
I don't know if I'll use them, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know. They felt like a little bit stiff.
That's the problem right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there's still a long way to go in the AI space for that in particular, for the avatars, the headshots. And I think it's this idealized version of yourself that is not quite it for me. And I do understand like the use case for an avatar in that situation, but it does broach the trust subject with AI. And it's like, where is it intuitive for the shopping experience to help optimize the role? And I think Megan Asha was talking about it in her episode where, humans weren't meant to be at a desk constantly. So if it does help optimize some of those functions on an e-commerce site, I'm here for it. I think it's, on a more personal level, I don't know if I'm there on the avatar front just yet.
You're not bought in.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not there. But it's not to say I can't get there and that the world will get there. But I think like just optimizing algorithms to make a shopping experience easier, I think we're going to see some really incredible things in the next couple of years.
There is a balance between being authentic and myself, but at the same time, wanting to represent a better version of me or appearing better visually. What I wish was actually more diversity in terms of models and people that show up on TV or TV shows or movies, that there could be more people who look like me. I'm probably going to want to click on those shows more, click on that video more. I mean, even with my TikTok algorithm right now, a lot of the influencers are people talking about anything, whether it's jobs or vacations, where to travel, what to wear. A lot of them are coming up with influencers that look like myself. They're female, they're Asian, they sound American. And I think that's a natural human instinct. It's easier to relate to people who look like you, who sound like you. And it's just a natural instinct that we all have. I think that is the thing that e-commerce brand owners can take where they can leverage AI, is to connect to their consumers more closely. That when I'm selling this piece of clothing to this demographic, to portray it in a way using avatars or models or even human models of something that mirrors them. I think that's where we can leverage AI to change the face of things. So I think that's where it can benefit. I mean, AI is such a debated topic. There is no right answer. Everyone is entitled to all of their own opinions of whether you think it's evil or taking society down a really dark path, or it's this thing that is going to be really useful, create a lot of opportunities. So in a lot of the keynotes that I do, I equate the progression of AI to the story of Prometheus,
Oh, interesting.
the Greek myth of Prometheus, because he found fire and then he gifted it to the humans, but he was punished for it. Because AI is like fire, where you can have a group of people who use that to their advantage. You can cook with it, I don't know, barbecue, I don't know, whatever you want, versus the people who are burned because it can go wrong as well. It's like a tool. I think a lot of previous innovations in the past, including electricity, the internet, social media, there's the good side, there's the bad side. But I think what's important, though, is to bring these controversial topics to the forefront and talk about it, debate about it, have different opinions form about it. And then ultimately everyone can make their more personal informed decision on how they will view certain things.
Yeah. And I think the other piece here is, I think when we talk about this Prometheus example, it's the use case where it is cooking, where we are at a barbecue nourishing our family. And the e-commerce example of that is the way that brands like ours are simplifying the basic processes that you have to go through, especially in the Alibaba context, as you know, as we talk about sourcing. Last year, we debuted our Smart Assistant tool, and we're constantly working to optimize it and evolve it. And part of that is, you know, a feature we're implementing in our chat function. You've started conversations with different suppliers and you want to summarize your conversation with them or compare the results from those conversations, and AI works for you. Smart Assistant, you know, does its work in the background and brings the most pertinent information that you as a human can receive and synthesize and come away with your own personal preference. And so I think like using the fire to bring something really productive into your life is the best way that we as a brand can help to alleviate some common stressors for our consumers who are business owners. And so to bring tools like that to folks, like that's one of the things that we talked about at White Label this week, how Smart Assistant is advancing the sourcing process and streamlining these massive amounts of information that you are constantly dealing with. You're only one person. Let's really boil it down to something that you can wield and bring about positive change with your business. Not to bring things back to, you know, the marketing standpoint, but that Smart Assistant tool is there doing work for you so you can focus on the million other things that are on your plate, because we know you as a business owner have 1,000,005 things on your plate. Let's bring it back a little bit and help you out where we can.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, Alibaba is one of those companies that is very good at technology. I've also tried Alibaba's ChatGPT equivalent. I think it's already embedded in Taobao, and I've searched for things or used that to search for things. And I'm super excited to see upcoming updates from the Alibaba.com product and how it's going to use more AI tools for helping business owners, e-commerce brand owners, and making their business easier. So with that, I'll close off our episode. But thanks so much for joining me. This was super fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. This was a good time.
B2B Breakthrough is produced by Alibaba.com. To find out how Alibaba.com is empowering its customers with the tools, services, and resources they need to grow their businesses, visit Alibaba.com. And then make sure to search for B2B Breakthrough Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to follow us so you don't miss future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Alibaba.com, thanks for listening.